The 116th Congress gaveled in for its first session on Thursday, with lawmakers from both congressional branches eager to set their party's agenda. In the Republican-controlled Senate, the first bill up for consideration isn't to reopen the government, but rather a bill with a rather bland name, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. Pretty safe, I would say. Now, those familiar with the legislation say it slashes several forms of corporate taxes, but it also includes some foreign policy-related measures, believe it or not, including a provision to protect and defend Israel from boycotts. Since 2015, 26 states have passed provisions meant to bar companies or even individuals that participate in the boycott, divestment, and sanctions of Israeli goods. Several of those states are now facing legal challenges over those laws. This is an issue we've been following very closely here because it seems like such a clear attack on our freedom of speech. The very latest example of this fight is happening in Arkansas. The Arkansas Times says that anti-BDS law in the state meant the newspaper was asked to sign a pledge that it wouldn't boycott Israel in order for it to secure an advertising contract with a state university. Now, on Friday, the Times returned to court asking a federal judge to block the law's enforcement. Joining me now is Alan Leverett, publisher of the Arkansas Times, and Brian House, attorney with the American Civil Liberties Union. The ACLU, we should note, the Arkansas branch there is representing the Times. Alan, let me actually begin with you, because in your piece for the ACLU website, you wrote, "Times are hard in the publishing industry, and we really needed the business, but at what price? It had never occurred to us to boycott anyone, but the idea that the state would force a publishing company to take a political position in return for business was offensive." Talk us through a little bit about why it was important for you to take a stand at this point, given, as you mentioned, that times are hard for publishing companies. Why was this an important case to take up?
The times are hard, and this is actually the last thing we wanted to do. This was a bullet that we tried to dodge for some time. We got a number of these letters from state agencies saying that we had to pledge not to support or not to be part of any kind of boycott with Israel. And finally, the University of Arkansas system insisted. They decided to enforce it when a lot of the other agencies just sort of let it slide. And we were finally forced to take the position that we were not going to take a political position in return for money. And it's just that simple. I mean, you just don't do that if you're in the newspaper business. And if you're a free American citizen and you want to do business with the state, you want to be a drywall hanger or anything else, you don't do that if you want to keep your independence.
So tell us a little bit about why you felt that this was important for, not just for you, but for Americans in general. I mean, 26 states are passing similar measures, and you're now at the forefront of the legal challenges in one of the most important cases.
Well, why should an American citizen have to take a position in favor of the foreign policy of a foreign government just so that it can do business with its own government? I mean, what kind of thinking is this? I mean, we're a local newspaper. We're an independent local newspaper. We care a whole lot more about Medicaid expansion in Arkansas and what's happening with people getting kicked off of it than we do with what's going on in the Middle East, frankly. That's our mission, is Arkansas. That's what we're focused on. And this is totally irrelevant to what we're here to do. And frankly, I find it offensive. Something else that the law puts forth is that if we don't sign it, we can still do business with the state of Arkansas, but we have to cut our rates by 20%. Now, where's the fundamental principle behind that? That, well, they'll go ahead and let us do this without signing.
For less
they'll let us boycott, but they want us to make them a deal. And so it's just the whole thing. It smells and it's offensive.
Yeah. So, Brian, explain to us why you believe that this is unconstitutional.
Well, as I think Alan's case demonstrates, you don't have to be participating in a boycott of Israel to find these anti-boycott laws fundamentally un-American. The right to boycott is squarely protected by the First Amendment to the Constitution, and the First Amendment also protects the right not to be forced to sign a loyalty oath. And those are really the rights at stake here.
So when we look at the outline that we were talking about in the beginning, that the Senate is trying to pass something that is more comprehensive than what we've seen 26 different states pass, why do you think members of Congress are going down this road when there hasn't, every case I believe so far that has been challenged has been in favor of those challenging these laws, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so why is Congress taking this issue up?
It's a funny thing because, the first Senate bill of the term has symbolic importance. It shows what the values of the Senate are and what the goals it wants to pass in this term are. And it's disappointing to see that one of the goals the Senate wants to advance here is to encourage states to adopt anti-boycott laws that have already been held unconstitutional by federal courts. But I think the purpose in doing that is to send a symbolic message of support for Israel. It's unfortunate that in trying to send that symbolic message, the Senate is willing to compromise Americans' First Amendment rights.
Is there anything that could be done on a broader measure from your perspective so that it doesn't have to go individually, 26 states, one at a time, cases like Allen's and others that we've profiled?
Well, our hope is that with these state laws that, once the states start recognizing that these laws are fundamentally unconstitutional, that the legislators themselves will go back and try to repeal the state laws on their own. But if not, we're prepared to litigate in every state that has one of these laws to vindicate the First Amendment rights of American citizens.
Alan, I hate to ask you this, but let's say that the paper action is unsuccessful in court, and you've made a point about it right now. Do you plan on signing that pledge, or what does that mean for the future of your newspaper should you lose?
That is a really, really difficult question. We've been pretty much break even since about 2007. I mean, we are in the newspaper business. And if we lose our state advertising and we're already at a break even or maybe a little bit below break even right now, I don't know what's going to happen. So I really can't. I haven't gone there yet, but that's something that'll be a very, very difficult very, very difficult decision for me.
Yeah, I can't emphasize the importance of local media in our country's history and traditions. Alan Leverett, Brian House, thank you, gentlemen, both. We'll be right back.